And welcome to a quick discussion of Cadence of Hyrule. So this was a 2019 indie game that was a crossover between the Legend of Zelda series and the 2015 indie hit Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's actually made by the developers of Crypt, and ended up being one of my favorite games from last year. I've wanted to do a video or a Let's Play on this for a long time, but the main reason I haven't is because the core gameplay of Crypt of the Necrodancer is a rhythm-based roguelike. I really like roguelikes, actually. Some of the Mystery Dungeon games for Pokemon are among my favorite games in the series, actually, even over the main series. I also really like rhythm games, so when you put the two together, it's really cool, but it's also very difficult. Which is why I've hesitated to play through a game in full, because both this game and Crypt of the Necrodancer can be very brutal at times. This is actually the easier of the two, which would make it really good to get into the genre with. I don't know if I can say genre, because I don't know if anyone else has tried to do a rhythm roguelike. But basically, the original Crypt of the Necrodancer is a dungeon-based roguelike with randomly generated floors, and the same rhythm mechanics, so we have to move in time with the beat, which is easier said than done while trying to explain the game, I'll be honest. So if you can keep a combo up, you get better rewards, but if you drop a combo, for the most part you won't die. I'm pretty sure there's one character in Crypt where you actually have to do perfect runs. I am not even finished with the easy mode of that game, so I shudder to think what that's like. So the music is really great. It's a lot of remixes. A lot of songs also incorporate elements of songs from the original game. Like, I definitely recognize a bit of the 1-1 theme from Crypt of the Necrodancer in the tutorial song. I skipped the tutorial, by the way, and that you play as Cadence, the protagonist from the original game. She is unlockable, though, so you can play as Link, Zelda, or Cadence later on, and swap between them at Sheikah Stones. So, we have these little things called Sheikah Stones. One is in the middle of this screen. But basically, when you die, you get to respawn at a Sheikah Stone. Later on, you also get the ability to warp between them, so you can warp to whichever stone you want at any time, which is really cool. But yeah, it's a full Zelda overworld. We have a map over here, so you can see how large the world is. We have 4 dungeons, with a boss each. And plenty of traditional Zelda exploring. We have enemies like Lynels and, classic enemies that serve as mini-bosses that can be found around the world. You have regular enemies as well, like the Moblins and Choo-Choos. You have item shops, you have villages like Kakariko, as usual. By the way, if you choose one character, I'm pretty sure that's actually how you unlock the other character. You can find them at Kakariko Village. So we died, and every time you die, you end up at this little item shop, where you can basically buy some special items. So like this weapon and this heart container are permanent, so definitely worth keeping that in mind. There is a Perma-Death Mode, so obviously you'd be limited in items as well, so not only do you have to not die, you also have worse equipment, so it's definitely a harder way to play. There's also special story modes as well, like a single character mode, where you basically only get one character. But yeah, there's also a story mode where you can play as all 3 characters, gradually unlocking the other 2. Recently, there was actually an announcement of a season pass, and a physical release for October 2020, so next month. Oddly enough, the physical release, I'm pretty sure the price is going to be the same as buying the season pass and the game individually, so if you have not played the game yet, that would be a great opportunity. It's actually part of the reason why I decided to do this video, because I wanted to talk about it a little bit before the physical release next month. Because even though it's $40, which is a little bit steep for an indie game, it's completely worth it, I find. Because of the random generated worlds, there's a lot of replayability if you enjoy it. And overall, I think it's pretty accessible, even though the core concept is pretty difficult at first. There is a fixed beat mode that basically takes away the rhythm attributes, so you basically move around the world and the enemies move accordingly. So in a way it's actually more like Super Hot at that point. Here we have a little mini-boss room. We have an enemy with a guitar, actually, and also a Wizrobe. I should probably not be doing this with 3 hearts. Obviously you definitely want more hearts before tackling something that difficult, but that's something kind of cool about this. You can kind of go most places from the beginning. In a way it's almost like a 2D Breath of the Wild in that way, because you have a lot of freedom in where you go. Like, I'm pretty sure you can do most dungeons in any order as long as you have the right items. It's all a matter of skill. I'm sure you could do a 3-heart run even. Not sure how easy that would be, but it would probably be possible with enough practice. Enemies also have different attack patterns, which is kind of interesting because most of the attack patterns seem to be based on enemies from the original game. So again, this game is actually a good way to get into the series because of it being a little bit easier. I'm assuming it's probably because of the Zelda tie-in that they made it a bit simpler. It's definitely not easy by any means, but it's definitely a lot more easygoing than the main game. But for the first Nintendo game made by an indie, it turned out really great. I'm glad Nintendo gave them a shot at making this. I hope they continue to do so in the future, actually, because I would love to see more indies take a stab at some of Nintendo's IPs. Recently, there were a lot of talks that WayForward should work on an official Nintendo game because of their work on the Shantae series, and I would agree, that's a great idea. So this game doing well enough to warrant a physical release gives me hope that Nintendo will continue to make indie collaborations in the future. So here's Link's house. This, I think, would be where you start if you pick Link. Which is actually part of the reason I like picking Zelda, beyond the novelty of playing as Zelda in a 2D game like this, and not like a spin-off like Hyrule Warriors, even though this still is a spin-off. Link's house is randomized, so I like the consistency of starting at Hyrule Castle every time. So yeah, Hyrule Castle is always located pretty much in the center of the map, so having a central spawn location I prefer over having a randomized one. I'm pretty sure that's where Link starts. Again, I admittedly don't play Link very much in this game. Both do have slightly different movesets and items, so each character has an exclusive item for them. So Link has a shield, Zelda has Neighbor's Love, I think you also get Din's Fire at some point, but also some special weapons to them. Obviously, Link gets the Master Sword at some point, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, because at its core, it's a fully fleshed out Zelda game. Just with some interesting little caveats that make it a little bit more interesting in some ways. I will say the movement takes a bit to get used to. The whole one tile at a time movement can be a little bit disorienting at first. And it's very easy to get off rhythm pretty easily. But yeah, overall, because of the fixed beat mode, where you can turn this off, this wouldn't be that intimidating, even for those who aren't great at rhythm games, and I think it has enough merits to warrant trying it even without the rhythm component. because at its core, it's also just kind of a well-made Zelda game. I really like the music in this game. The remixes are all really good, and the sprite work is also fantastic as well. I'm pretty sure one of the artists from Sonic Mania worked on the sprite work of this game, and it kind of shows because that game has some pretty great art as well. So here we're at Lake Hylia. That's Cadence, by the way. So this is the loot that allows us to fast travel to any Sheikah Stone that we've seen before. By the way, I'm pretty sure this is one of the dungeons, but we actually have to find a way to get across the lake first. So obviously it's a little bit tougher to get to than it appears, since we can't swim at the moment. So over here we have a mini-boss and a heart piece. You have your standard amount of heart pieces and heart containers. I want to say it's 20. Obviously, if you do a deathless run, you actually would not get everything, because doing a deathless run would require skipping out on the diamond store, so you'd actually miss out on a few, making it even tougher, actually. So yeah, overall, it's pretty fun. I recommend it. If you have not played it, I would recommend at this point waiting for the physical release, since you get the DLC for the same price anyway. I'll be honest, I might actually double dip with this game because I like it so much, and also because it's an indie title, so... I mean, it's technically a Zelda game, but it's still made by an indie, so I consider it an indie game, and would like to show support if I can. So yeah, that's October. Definitely worth checking out if you like what you've seen so far, because there's a lot to enjoy. In general, I think my biggest shortcoming with the game is probably its length. As far as 2D Zelda games go, it's pretty short. Obviously, there is kind of the randomizer component, so that can keep it a little bit variable. Obviously, some playthroughs might be a little bit faster than others, but on the whole, this is a pretty short game, especially as an indie game for like $25 base price. It's kind of asking a lot, to be honest, but I think it's worth it, because I've already gotten so many playthroughs in on this game. I've done like 3 playthroughs already since it's released. I think 2 or while I was in the process of moving at one point. It's a really good game to play while moving, because it's a very D-pad heavy game, so not even having to worry about the Joy-Con drift was kind of nice. It's obviously a bit of a problem, but it's not as bad as some games. In fact, I would not recommend the Pro Controller, which is what I'm using now, because the D-pad is so off at times. It can definitely mess you up when you're trying to make precise movements. Yeah, overall, definitely worth trying, I would say. I hope Nintendo continues to make indie collaborations in the future, because I think there's a lot of potential there. Even like the makers of Shovel Knight could probably make a really good first-party licensed game if Nintendo would let them. Yeah, I'm really glad this game turned out as well as it did. It was kind of a surprise. I think it was at an Indie World stream, and then like Shadow dropped like a week within a week of E3 2019. People thought it would be a Shadow drop, and it wasn't quite, because it was a couple days after E3, but still, it was really close, which was cool. Reception was really positive, the music being obviously a big deal in a rhythm game, but all the music that I recall is fantastic. And yeah, overall, I will say I feel like also the dungeons are kind of short and lack puzzles, because it's more of a roguelike feel. So in some ways, it definitely feels more like Crypt of the Necrodancer sequel than a Zelda game at its core, but it's still a great time. Obviously, if you don't like roguelikes or rhythm games, but like Zelda, this might be a harder sell. As someone who liked all 3 going in to this game, I was fine with the kind of hybrid style of it. But yeah, it's fun. It's kind of hard to talk about because, it's so odd, actually, because of the weird mix of genres, and also just trying to talk over the game and stay on rhythm. It's honestly a big part of why I've hesitated to do like a full playthrough of this game, because it's really difficult to maintain, like, talking about a game while trying to really focus on it. I don't know if I've actually said that already in the video. I might be repeating myself because I'm so, like, tunnel-visioned on the game. I'm not even entirely sure what I've already mentioned. But yeah, I don't know if I have much else to say about the game, actually. It's just a good time. I'm probably going to keep playing after I end this video. There are also achievements, by the way. They added in achievements post-launch, adding even more replay value. So yeah, there's a lot to like about this game. It's definitely not for everyone, because again, it's a very odd amalgamation of genres, so it might be a little bit off-putting to some, or a bit difficult to get into, but I think it's worth at least trying at some point, especially with a physical release coming out. I'm really glad that it is getting a physical release. I wasn't sure because it had been so long, but it's cool to see. Again, I'm not sure if I'll rebuy it, but I would like to, just to show support. Yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about this for now. Maybe someday I'll try to do a stream of this, or a let's play. I can't guarantee it because of just how much effort it would take to do so, but who knows. Someday in the future, maybe. But with that, I think I'm going to call things here for now. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next month for a new discussion.